come home a long way last.
We can't do this. We've got to be better than that.
This is not some charity event. If he doesn't perform, trust me, he will get replaced.
You know, the Vikings never had a Royal Navy admiral helming our boats. Well done!
Some people will argue that we don't have enough experience.
Different perspectives and expectations from both teams leads to different pressures.
ROCKWOOL is a Danish family-owned company that manufactures and sells stone wool insulation, but it's a global focus, so it works all over the world. To sponsor an event like SailGP is completely new territory for ROCKWOOL. They've never done a sports sponsorship ever in the history of the company.
Now, all of a sudden, they've got an opportunity to really compete with the best on the world stage in SailGP. And it's a great opportunity for them, but the Danish fans won't accept finishing at the back of the fleet.
The Denmark SailGP team has a full-time crew, so all the sailors work full-time towards this project. But even with that investment and full-time focus, the team still has a big learning curve, and the early results did not really go to plan.
First race of the season, and the Danish team are really struggling to compete. It looks like they're intimidated, and it's not surprising. In this new lineup, you've essentially got the best sailors in the entire sailing world.
What happens in SailGP is that you actually attract the champions from different classes. They have learned foiling in the meantime, they've done America's Cups, and then all of a sudden they show up in SailGP.
As the Danes come home a long way last, well, it is going to be a steep learning curve. This is a really, really big step up in class, and they're being found out a little bit here this week.
The guys went into the racing with, they only had 20 hours on board. Some of the other sailors have years on this boat, so it showed the guys that, you know, this is not going to be easy. We had an injury with Martin breaking his shoulder.
Stopping. I don't think that the results they lie. Definitely, we're not at a level where we could compete with the best guys.
I don't think Nikolai rates alongside the other top sailors at this stage. If he is not delivering the results, then you've got to consider others, whether that be some of their top Olympic sailors or a name helm to fast-track that team to the top, and then you're at that level and you're working to keep it at that level. I think that that's definitely an option for that team.
The team knew that it was going to be a big challenge, but I think that when they actually got there and saw the level of competition, it really brought it home, how big this challenge is.
Big Ben Ainslie on the British boat, the most decorated sailor in Olympic history. He has returned to the waters that brought him so much glory 2 decades ago.
Yeah, I remember quite clearly the first time I got into the F50 in SailGP in Sydney Harbour, and I still think it's one of the best, most fun days of sailing I've ever had.
Ben Ainslie. This isn't just one of the greatest sailors of all time, this is one of the greatest sportsmen of all time. I mean, he's an Olympic legend, the first person to win medals at 5 consecutive games. He, alongside Jimmy Spithill, masterminded the greatest America's Cup victory of all time in 2013, arguably the greatest comeback in all of sports. He is the GOAT amongst GOATs.
We were a bit of a dark horse coming in, racing for the first time in the league. And in many ways, we didn't have as much pressure on our shoulders. It was just about going out, having a great time sailing on Sydney Harbour, and the results came from that.
It's first blood to Big Ben Ainslie and Great Britain. It's going to be an amazing year.
Different perspectives and expectations from both teams, that leads to different pressures.
There are 2 ways to win in SailGP. There's the race on the water, but there's also the race off the water in terms of media and storytelling and marketing. One of our biggest products on the marketing side this year is a show called Beneath the Surface, and it allows us to go a bit deeper into the city. Welcome to Beneath the Surface, presented by ROCKWOOL. So we've come to the City Hall to find out how Taranto is trying to reinvent itself. We go and meet important people in the city, and it gives us an opportunity to open the door and deliver value to them, which creates that relationship and that trust.
The reason that we are in SailGP is because it was the best business case for us.
For us, it's a commercial project. For many of the other teams, if you are a AAA person with 3 gold medals, you either win or lose. We are an industrial company. We need to attract people to the industry. We want a story. I look at the Italian event, and we had more than 2 million views. And when we do things like this, people see the boat. They see that an industrial company that does a little bit of a crazy thing like this with a sustainability goal to it, that must be a fun place to work, and then they apply. But yes, we do the event in Italy, and now we started to ship to southern Italy, and I'm embarrassed to say that we had neglected southern Italy thanks to the event. We are there, so there are some business benefits. So we don't overstress ourselves for the result, because sometimes you also need patience and not be so hard on yourself when not everything comes together.
I think ROCKWOOL's been very nice right now. That they've said, look, you know, we realise this is going to take time and we're going to give you that time. My experience is that time becomes very limited.
Welcome to Bermuda Sail Grand Prix, presented by Hamilton Princess.
You get your 1 or maybe, if you're lucky, 2 chances in professional sports. And if you don't succeed, they're the only chances that you get.
Seeing the lineup for the SailGP is a sight for itself. You not only do you have an extremely difficult boat to sail, you also have to sail it much better than the absolute elite in the world, which sounds like an impossible task. The first race of the first day, on the first upwind, we had Spain coming on starboard. And in that dip, we crashed the boat. So we lost all our wind instruments, which is bad, because you lose your eyes out of the boat, basically.
Terrible day.
That was pretty good.
We could have had 3 top 3s, the way we sailed. We could have, if we sailed boat handling, we would have been 3 top 3s.
I know, that's what I mean. But so you're not upset about the results, are you?
Yeah. We can't do this. We got to be better than this.
Okay.
But I'll give you an interview, my honest opinion.
No.
I'll give you an interview.
No, give it to me straight. Tell me.
Yeah. When do you want it?
Tell me.
You're ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm going to unload it on you.
Go.
Lean back.
Are we gonna make it? You know, I went into Bermuda believing that we had what it was gonna take just from the training and stuff. And the results didn't reflect it. And I kind of thought to myself, this is, we gotta do something here. I know it's not my job, I'm not part of the sailing team, but we all feel it, right?
When things are going wrong and it's a high-profile project, there's no escaping that. You know, when they're at home in Denmark in the supermarket, they'll get asked a question by someone about why the performance was bad in Bermuda, and it can really ruin the day, you know?
The first day of racing in Bermuda, the Saturday, we were losing control of the boat and the manoeuvres. We couldn't make our jibe stick.
Whoa, nearly a capsize on board the British boat there.
For us, we had a terrible first day of racing.
No, safe. Hell.
And you make one bad manoeuvre, the whole fleet sails past you, and unfortunately that was the case on day 1.
Hell, guys, my rank. It's just a shambles. Yo.
We were really staring down the barrel of defeat and not even qualifying for that final 3 race. And we did that. We made some subtle changes to the setup of the boat for Sunday's racing.
Sir Ben Ainsley, he finished 7th twice in the first 2 races, and he has rebounded nicely here on the final day at the right time.
Day 2, and they're dominating. It's classic Ben Ainsley. He's not only qualified for the final, but he wins it.
And they are going to be the winners here in Bermuda of SailGP Bermuda. What a comeback from Ainsley, and how much is that going to hurt Slingsby?
He beats the Australians again, and then up on the podium, he makes this lovely gesture that gives me a measure of the man.
Well, Hannah Mills is a real superstar in our sport. We felt she was very much part of the team, and it was just natural that she should join us for that prize giving and take one of the medals.
Then on the other side of the coin, you've got Nikolai Sehersted, and he's dealing with yet another difficult defeat.
I think we had some good moments and some bad moments. We are competitive, we want to do better, but we have to keep reminding ourselves that also what we keep telling ourselves, that we are not here to win the first event or the second or the third. So for now, we're taking every learnings and keep the head high.
I don't believe that it's a realistic approach to say that we can accept bad results and it'll take time to build. My experience is if you approach sports like that, you'll probably never succeed. It's almost as if others could be saying that, but Nikolai, in his mind, he needs to be thinking, I've got to turn this around and I've got to turn it around now. The reality is, if he doesn't and somebody better comes along, he will get replaced. This is not some charity event. This is professional sports, and if he doesn't perform and there's somebody else that's actually better sitting out there, trust me, he will get replaced.
We can talk about the actual on-water performance in Bermuda, but it was part of, it's part of the plan. We knew that it would be hard. This is a race with the best sailors in the world. We chose specifically to have a skipper that represented us.
I believe Nikolai is the right leader for a Danish team. You don't get a better sailing leader in Denmark today.
You must remember that we are sailing a boat under the Danish flag. The Vikings never had a Royal Navy admiral helming our boats.
For us, it was really important to bet on the Danish side of the team from the very beginning and have a Danish skipper at the helm. And again, in particular, I would say Nikolai, because of who he is as a person.
You will have to search for a very long time to get a more natural-born leader than Nikolai. His guys, they will go through fire and ice and water for him. And that's because when it comes to it, Nikolai, he has their back.
Is there wrong? Oh!
Going pretty quick here in the middle of the Indian Ocean, middle of the night, so it's pretty dark. Basically, there's a mountain underwater. We're doing around 20 knots. I remember surfing the last wave and then realizing on that wave that there was a rock and a reef right in front of the end of that wave. I remember that, just seeing that at the last second and just saying, oh no. We broke a lot of gear and the boat is in bad shape. 100% focus on getting everyone safe and securing the boat as much as you can and taking it from there.
Needed assistance to abandon ship. Over.
Sailing is a big part of my life, and my girlfriend, and we have a daughter now. I only met her because we hit that reef with Vestas, where I then flew back to Denmark, and then I met her a week later. So all decision in sailing is brought me to where I am today.
Now, in our time together, we agreed that it was probably, how do you say, held i uheld. You say in Denmark that it was good luck in bad, because if he wouldn't have crashed there in the middle of the Indian Ocean, I think it was, then he wouldn't have gone to the gala and probably we wouldn't have met.
For a year while we were in the Southern Ocean doing this ocean race, I think I learned two things that I really use a lot. One is to really control the emotions. And the second thing that I learned is it's all about the team. It's all about the people around you. When things go really bad, you only survive if you have the best people next to you.
We welcome you to the port city of Toronto, the host for Event 2 of SailGP's second season.
Denmark, where can they get themselves at mark number 1? Remember, they need a top finish to make this final race as well, Freddie.
One strength from this team is concluding on how we can improve and then go out and execute.
What a time to find your form if you're Nikolai Sehested.
Yeah, we talked about they needed a momentum-shifting result, and this momentum-shifting result, if they stay in second or move to first and the Kiwis fall further down the ladder, could see them go into the top 3.
Sehested looking for opportunity. Brilliant to see the Danish crew improving through the day.
Now we have a really good boat speed and our boat handling is good, so now we can position the boat where we want. I mean, that was the biggest problem we had in Bermuda, and we got that sorted. We could position ourselves, we could actually talk about strategy and put in the maneuvers that we needed.
Yeah, it was a good day for us. We always knew that we are going to get there eventually. We just had to put in the work and put in the hours, and now it's slowly starting to come together a bit. We have a bit bigger toolbox. We can fight pretty hard, and I think, to be honest, our guys in the boat today sailed this boat almost as good as anyone out here.
Inside the camp, we knew that there was a change. We knew that it felt differently. You know, there was an energy there. The guys were more confident. They felt more focused on what specifically they needed to improve, and it showed what we're capable of, and that actually, you know, we are capable of competing with these teams.
After Bermuda, Ben announces that he's going to miss the next 2 races, and everyone's in disbelief. But when you ask why, there's no answer.
About 4 years ago or so, we embarked on this adventure to try and have a second child, and it just was proving to be very, very difficult. We had our wonderful surrogate in place, but we couldn't do anything about it because we couldn't get here. You know, the IVF clinics had closed down, and we couldn't say anything because obviously we weren't there yet. But now we can, and we're really happy, and yeah, we've got a lovely little addition to our family in Fox. I'm always looking for balance, whereas he's always looking for these extremes. He has his Olympic history. He parked that at London 2012 Games because he said, you know, I could go no better in that scenario, but he knows that he can make an impact in SailGP. So I think those are the things that, while those are the events that are still out there to conquer, he's really keen to just go and do it. You'll catch him in moments where the rest of us have all gone to bed, and he'll be replaying videos of, you know, all sorts of previous campaigns that he's been involved in, just to keep sort of refreshing his memory of how he won, how he can be better, you know, what happened if he got beaten and how could he have improved. It's a sports star's mentality to just keep pushing constantly.
Thank you.
Nikolai, in terms of getting the team to a winning point, they're knocking on the door, but not quite getting to the next stage.
I don't see any reason at all why the Danish team can't be winning Grand Prix and winning the league. So I don't subscribe to that view at all. I think all of the teams have the talent now and the experience in these boats. There's no reason why they shouldn't be, like I say, they shouldn't be winning Grand Prix and can't be winning the league.
Made it past the hardest thing of the day.
These guys, they were thrown in the deep end against some lions in the fleet, and Nikolai's had to learn the hard way.
I actually believe some of the new talent coming through are real threats.
Do I think they could win in a year or two's time? I do. I genuinely do.
I still believe it doesn't matter which team it is, that any team in this circuit at the moment with the people involved can go out there and win these regattas.
Hello and welcome to SailGP in Britain's historic ocean city of Plymouth for the 3rd series of Season 2. Here we go, 5 seconds to go, race number 1 at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix.
And the gun goes, the Danish are just over there. OCS, it looked like they were going to get a perfect start. They're going to get relegated to the
It didn't look like that, but they say that we crossed the line too early, and therefore we need to go all the way to the back and start last.
Race number 2, it's Australia once again out in front.
The French, the Danish and the Spanish are locked for second place.
We just need to keep working, keep fighting.
Great finish for Denmark SailGP, presented by ROCKWOOL, and the Danes will claim second.
Second.
This is the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix as we get ourselves ready for race number 5. So with 5 seconds at the line, wait for the white line to go white, and it does.
That was a good start.
Denmark and New Zealand had to bear away at the start as is to not get a penalty. Did it cost them massively? Yes, it did.
And it's going fast. Look, fourth.
Nikolaj Sejested, the helmsman for Denmark. They could really be spoilers if they could move ahead of Spain and even possibly get into a mix with France, taking valuable points away.
3! Yeah! And he's on starboard. He's on starboard.
And a nice step up in performance by Sejested and his crew here. They're getting better at every event they go to.
Well done. The last race today is exactly the spirit we want to see. We never ever give up. Our team didn't despair. They just kept working, and they come from second last to the 3rd position, and that makes you proud.
Nikolaj's going to be sailing at home next, and all of the Olympians return. Now, you've got Pete Burling and Blair Tuke, the silver medalists, and you've got Sir Ben Ainslie. This is, no question, the biggest test that Nikolaj is going to face, because these are sailors who relish the biggest challenges.
I know Nikolaj well. You know, they got a lot of talent. I think they're a well-invested, backed team, and I expect them to keep improving through this series, through this season, and into next season, and be one of the serious contenders in the long term. You know, in sport, of course, nothing always goes to plan. There's always setbacks, there's always challenges, and I think you have to be able to adapt to that. And in some ways, the harder the challenge, the more rewarding it is if you can come back and you can still achieve that. And that's what we all love about sport.
Our homecoming event in Aarhus coming up, the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix, the first time that SailGP's ever been to Denmark, and it's going to be huge. And you know, maybe we can do something even bigger on home waters.
Of course, Nikolaj and his crew want to win on home waters. But even better than that is winning with one of the greatest sailors of all time in the water. That's got to be every sailor's dream. Win on home waters against the greatest sailor of all time. No doubt it's Nikolaj's dream.
One of the big misconceptions around the team is that, you know, we don't care about winning, or we don't care if we're losing, you know, because actually we do really care, and we are really ambitious, I think, but there's a level of realism in there that, you know, this takes time to close the gap. The goal is to change Danish sailing forever. So actually it's a super ambitious plan. It's one of the most ambitious plans I've ever seen in my time working, not just in sailing, but in sports.
The thing about this team is it's not just it's not a simple project. It's not just a thing. We're, you know, there's a nation, there's pride, it's a small country, so what you do really is reflected. And I know there's an international element to it, but it's an emotional team, and this is what we need to do, and we need to win SailGP. It's as simple as that.
That Hollywood movie of eventually winning on the water is, of course, something I do really personally believe in. And in my mind, I'm already planning what the social media and the videos are going to be around that moment. We're willing to wait for it.
If you have a team you appreciate, just keep on going. Make sure that you improve every time you go on the water. Make sure you come back from the water wiser than when you went out there. And if you can keep on doing that every day, you're fine. So patience.
Some people will argue that we don't have enough experience, and we don't have any Danish F50 sailors or Foiling America's Cup sailors, but we knew that from the beginning. We knew we are going to be a Danish team with Danish sailors.
Come on, turning up. That's how we do it, boys.
We have the best sailors that we can have right now, and they're doing a fantastic job. And if you really believe me, it won't be too many years before all of these guys are superstars. We're not going to win SailGP this year, but we are going to win SailGP very soon.
Do you want me?
Yeah, for me?
Yeah.
Go here.
This is the umpires. Spain, you have been black flagged from the race.
Phil Robinson's not happy. He's been kicked out of this race. Send your boat back to the dock.
That is rubbish. They couldn't get to us, umpire.
3, 2, 1.
Tom Slingsby, absolutely unbelievable race.
SailGP is powered by nature, and that extends far beyond the F-50s on the water. Delivering cutting-edge sport in a climate-positive way requires massive innovation, and SailGP is harnessing the power of the Oracle Cloud to unlock the benefits of operating remotely. Moving all broadcasting, umpiring, and race management operations remotely means a huge reduction in the amount of people and equipment that has to be moved around the world, cutting out thousands of tons of carbon emissions.
In Ealing, we partner with Timeline. We have a dedicated line that goes all the way back to London.
The technology is absolutely amazing. It's quite mind-blowing to be able to sort of watch from where we are. We see everything.
We want to be different. We want to be as efficient as possible with the tools that we have. Remote production would be the most ideal, or the future-proofing SailGP for the next 10 years. Our goal is to make technology innovation to make a better sport.
Let's go! Let's go. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Woo! Let's go. Go! Let's go. Let's go. Check it. Let go. Hey! You need to let go. Let go. Come on, we got to let go.
Forged in the fires of the Viking Age, Aarhus in Denmark is no stranger to fierce battles. On a peninsula shackled by the North Sea, a crucial mid-season duel will unfold. Fight your foes in the field, nor be burnt in your house. The home team has a lot to prove. Ainsley returns to claim his throne. Slingsby undoubtedly come out fighting. It's all to play for at the ROCKWOOL Denmark SailGP.
3, 2, 1.
Come on. I love this shot.
Welcome to Aarhus, where the modern vista of Denmark's second biggest city disguises the fact that this is a town that goes back to pre-Viking times, in fact, the 8th century. Alongside Freddie Carr, Stevie Morrison, and Ali Vance, I'm Todd Harris. Today, the harbor city welcomes the world's best inshore racing yachtsmen and their F-50 catamarans in the 4th SailGP event of the Season 2 that's taking the league around the world. While the clock counts down to the first practice race already, there's been some excellent action taking place. The wind arrived in Aarhus this week, which meant plenty of thrills and spills in practice. On Tuesday, Denmark experienced their first capsize. But it was Wild Wednesday, and in the first practice races that it really got fruity.
Benesi, look at the speed, 98 kilometres an hour as he bore away at Mark 1 there. That's nearly 53 knots in old money, but he's almost lost control of the boat.
As the British were setting new records, the Spanish were racing on the edge.
East jump. Hold on, please. Hey, yeah, it's very windy in Denmark today.
Next, Japan joined the carnage.
Big breeze on the Japanese boat now, pushing inside. Whoa, they've lost it, they've got too high, turned up into the breeze, out of control on board.
Coming up to the midway point of Season 2, it could not be much closer. Just 5 points separate top to bottom, and the fact that we have had 3 winners from 3 events supports the fact that any of the 8 teams could be overall winners. Here in Aarhus, we should see some more consistency as all crews are back to full strength after the Olympic Games. New Zealand and Spain in particular have suffered from absenteeism. Now, no longer. So now the clock counts down and the spectators take their positions for the first of 5 fleet races over 2 days to decide the top 3 crews that will go into the final of Event 4. And with all crews back to full strength after the Olympics, normal service is resumed, which includes the intense rivalries among the world's best inshore yachtsmen. At the head of the pecking order, Australia's Tom Slingsby and Great Britain's Ben Ainslie. Such seems to be the disposition of man, that whatever makes a distinction produces rivalry. And none so much as on SailGP, where titans clash. The GOAT, the greatest of all time. Pedigree on the Olympic and international stage brings with it a glossy expectation. Defending his turf as the current SailGP champion, a world-class Olympic sailor in his own right. With insecurity at the heart of every great rivalry, Sydney 2020 set the stage for a dogfight.
Ben definitely kicked our ass in front of all our friends and family.
Normally it makes more sense to keep those issues you've got to yourself.
Round 1, Ainslie. Bermuda, a chance to settle the score, and despite a second place finish, Slingsby closes the event on the back foot. Round 2, Ainslie. A glimmer of hope for the Antipodean driver as Ainslie announces a 2-race withdrawal for Italy and the Great Britain events. Taranto, a hydraulic failure triggers a disappointing few races for the Aussie boat. And then, redemption in Plymouth saw Slingsby wipe the floor with the rest of the fleet to even the score, finally catching up to tie on points with the British boat. Now in Denmark, Ben is back and the gloves are off. Round 3. Plenty of people on the water and on land for SailGP's first Grand Prix in Denmark, and they may well see a new series leader by day's end here in Aarhus.
Just 1 point behind the joint leaders, Billy Bessel's French team are the big improvers of Season 2. Maybe surprisingly, given the chat on board is not always harmonious.
What are you talking about? Nothing.
analysts question the way they sail downwind, where they consistently lose places. So let's keep an eye on that this week. A further 2 points back at Jimmy Spittle's Team USA. It's not been plain sailing, with bad luck in Bermuda and bad luck in Toronto. In Plymouth, they look like winners.
And it looks to be perfect starting for Jimmy Spithill and Team USA.
But after a perfect start in the final, they lacked boat speed and finished last. It's been a roller coaster for Nathan Outridge's Team Japan. 7th in Bermuda, 1st in Toronto and 6th in Plymouth. One of the pre-season favourites, they're now SailGP's yo-yo team, so who knows what to expect in Aarhus. Lying in 6th are Spain, a 4th, a 2nd and the overall leaders until the Plymouth disaster.
Spain, you have been black flagged from the race.
Rubbish!
Driver Phil Robertson is under the cosh, so will he be thinking about changing his aggressive style? Speaking of pressure, the Danish driver Nikolaj Sehested says he's not feeling the heat despite poor results and the added expectations of sailing in home waters. But a capsize in training might indicate otherwise. And last but surely not least, the wooden spoon sits with America's cup holders, New Zealand. After missing Plymouth at the Tokyo Olympics, 4 of the regular crew get back on board, led by newly crowned silver medalist Pete Burling. Will we see the rise of this hugely talented team?
The shoreline of the Bay of Aarhus makes a good vantage point for the thousands of spectators, along with those lucky enough to be out on the water surrounding the carefully policed race course. Well, earlier in the week, they were treated to some mayhem as winds at the top of the limit lashed the F50 fleet as the crews gained valuable time on the boats in practice here at the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix. And on Wednesday, history was made once again by the British.
It looks like we're go here, ready for Japan to turn the boat down towards the line. Jimmy Spithill up onto the foils. How's your timing, Jimmy? Here he comes in at the start line. Look for it to go white. He's early. There's the klaxon. That's the gun. Penalty Japan, penalty USA, and it's Ben Ainsley at the helm of Great Britain, blasting out from Mark 1. Big breeze.
Working away now. Jump, go for it.
Right, Ben Ainsley, look at the speed, 98 kilometres an hour as he bore away at Mark 1 there. That's nearly 53 knots in old money.
I have never seen speeds like that on a race course. Absolutely unbelievable.
So we are scheduled for 3 races today and then 3 races again tomorrow, with the last race being only the top 3 teams. Earlier we spoke with a team that may be considered the hottest in the fleet right now, coming off a victory in Plymouth, and of course the defending champions, the Aussies. Joined now by Tom Slingsby of Australia's SailGP. Tom, give us some on-water intel, what you're seeing as far as the wind goes and the conditions that you expect today.
Conditions are much of the same as yesterday, but a little bit lighter, but definitely just as tricky. Really patchy breezes, especially up at the top of the course. It's tough. We had a near capsize a few minutes ago in pretty light air just because we got a 10 knot extra gust from a different direction that we weren't expecting. So really tough conditions out here.
All right, we wish you the best today, Tom. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, as Tom says, some really tricky weather conditions for the crews to contend with today. The wind not overly high, but look at that second figure down. 28 kilometres an hour just shows the strength of the gusts here, and that's what's catching them out. Suddenly, when you get that wind coming from out of the blue and from a different direction, this is what can happen. These are the teams training before racing today, and the Spanish boat, well, look, they ended up on their side. Doing a rounding at the bottom of the course. Everyone on board, though, was okay, but we'll see some pictures of their damaged foil. And damaged foil isn't something that can be repaired quickly out on the water. So the Spanish team, they are out of racing today. We are down to just 7 teams. And I guess this just shows just how hard these F50s are to control in these unpredictable weather conditions.
Well, the 2 minutes before the start are crucial. The positioning here will define your race. Hit the start line, foiling, at full speed, at the favoured end of the line is the goal. Mark 1, fastest point of the race, and in these lighter winds, it's really important to round on the inside as close as possible to set up the next leg. It's vital to have the right strategy for rounding gate 2, and that means making the right decision at the bottom of the leg here as to whether you turn right or left. The crews are going to pick different sides of the course, looking for the best wind, while the boats behind are forced to either simply follow, which is bad, or pick a different course and hope for better wind. Gate 3 today is going to offer a real reset in the race. Light winds under the city means if you fall off the foils here, you could be a sitting duck. Find better wind and you've got a real chance to open that gap and extend away. As the sailboats can't sail directly into the wind, they must all sail at an angle to the wind, zigzagging their way up the course. The best teams will find a shorter course or more wind to sail faster to the next gate. And they have a chance there to gain those vital race points. You can see the race area here today. Really good course, close to the land, but that city to the top of the screen is really affecting the wind. We've got 20 kilometres an hour of wind at the bottom of the course, but at the top, it's a lot lighter. These are average wind strengths. Looking at the camera there, we can see darker patches of water moving across. They're gusts of wind, and that's what these sailors are out here looking for to race their boat faster around the course.
All right, thank you, Stevie. We are set to go here. As Ali reported, Spain is out, so it's now 7 boats competing here on race 1 of 3. And we will see an exciting day. 3 races taking place, and then again 3 more tomorrow as we get a good sound on board Australia's SailGP.
In this really light and patchy stuff blowing off the city, let's call it an urban race course, it's so hard to get your time on distance back to the start line well. If you're too far away from the line and the breeze drops, you're going to be late for the start. If you're lining up early and the breeze builds, you run the risk of being over the start line early. Very, very hard for the helmsman and the wing trimmers and the strategy on board in this last minute.
So 1 minute to go to the start of race number 1.
We can just see that's Ben Ainsley. He's choosing to tack back first. We're on board with the French. Billy Besson has been the best starter, but he looks a little bit back in the fleet at the moment already. This closer end to us on the start line has been the better end. But we'll see where the crews line up here. Ainsley choosing to lead back, dominating the fleet.
Just over 30 seconds to go to the start of race number 1.
27 seconds, a bold move by Ainsley, drops the boat off the foils as he needs to kill speed. Slingsby at the bottom of the line, will he be able to squeeze in? For me at the moment, it's Ben Ainsley there we're on board with. He's got control as they come in, killing 3 seconds. They're nearly accelerating to full speed. It's Ben Ainsley at the pin end of the line. Looks like he's timed this well. Already on the foils, it's the Kiwis and Burling in the middle of the line. Clear start there, it's Burling already on the foils. Can Ainsley pop the boat up? Burling and Spithill break the line fast, and Seherstedt comes diving through the middle. The Danish crew blast towards mark number 1.
So a drag race with the 4 boats out in front here on race number 1, off to mark number 1. And how about Denmark? What a start. But it's the Kiwis popping up at over 72 kilometers an hour.
Faster angle into mark that 1 there for Burling, and Tuke on board the Kiwi boat. This could be them first at mark 1 here in Aarhus, bearing away downwind. Great from Burling. That's the voice of Blair Tuke there, talking about the wind ahead. Little lighter inside, stand by. They don't want to sail into lighter wind. They're looking for more wind as they set up to jibe.
Early jibes coming from Denmark and Great Britain, the USA also, but they've got Japan on their heel, so they have to take an action there. But it is New Zealand getting the whole shot, looking so fast, and Pete Burling doing a great job off the line.
Burling doing a good job, but a slight mistake. The hull touches down, and Seherstedt's ready to grab the opportunity. Good job down.
fast mode as we can, Raz. Yep, fast mode all the way. Down, Nico, down.
Fast mode, that's Tom Johnson talking into Nikolai Seherstedt there. Fast mode suggests they feel they're making the mark comfortably. They're going to try and keep it simple. Straight in, left turn, try and minimise manoeuvres. Seherstedt looks in good shape for gate 2.
So as they approach gate number 2, it is the home team that has the lead.
3, 2, 1, turning up.
Denmark SailGP, presented by ROCKWOOL, has the lead at gate 2. Guys, this is something we haven't seen so far during season 2.
How about using the hometown advantage for a bit of inspiration there? That's a brilliant start by Seherstedt. Nailed the first jibe, seemed to make a big gain.
This is going to be a very tricky first upwind for all the crews. The wind is shifting through 40 degrees, and we've also got about 10 to 15 kilometers an hour less wind up underneath the city than we do at the bottom. It's going to make the top half of this race course really hard to negotiate.
Tap on board Denmark there. Lovely turn here. You keep the boat dry, keep it flying. What attack from Seherstedt in these gusty conditions. Really good job there from the Danish crew on the foils. First thing out that I've noticed, though, back in 6th place is Tom Slingsby, moving through the fleet already. Let's see what he can do. The camera shows here the fleet sailing back towards that Aarhus shoreline. We've seen a little bit more wind on that side of the course on average, and Burling and Tuke, in 2nd place at the moment, seem to be making a move.
Jumping into the 50s, Nico. Good pressure.
Ben Ainsley, Great Britain, making a nice maneuver as well. The center of your screen, there you see the speeds popping up as we take you on board.
I like to roll away. Turning up, boys.
That's Seherstedt talking to Tommy Johnson again, talking about tactics, wants a bit of reassurance from his teammate. They're doing a good job.
We're good, I think we want to push right.
This is an unusual place for ROCKWOOL, the Danish team, to be in. They haven't actually led many races at all throughout season 2. Will they be reading the race course looking forwards or looking over their shoulders to see what's coming at them?
Day like today, you can't control the boats behind you. You've got to see the wind coming ahead of you. Proactive, not reactive. Look at what's coming down the course and make a decision based on that. Interesting again for Burling and Tuke in the background, and Outridge. This left-hand side of the course seems good.
I can tell you what's coming down from the top of the course, Stevie, is less wind. It is dropped below 15 kilometers an hour of wind at the top gate marks. That in old money is under 7 knots, so it is going to get a bit race restarty at the top.
All going to be about nailing these next few maneuvers.
On board with the Kiwis, who have now taken the lead and just swapping back with Denmark, so they are at the front of the course. Japan in 3rd, Great Britain 4th. The Americans have dropped way off back into 6th.
Have a look at Outridge, though, the Wind Whisperer. He's there on that ley line. Good tack, up at 40 kilometers an hour straight after the tack. 45 kilometers an hour is the magic number to pop on the foil, so he's instantly up on the foil. Looks well set up for gate 3.
That was a lovely tack by the Japanese. The reason they had such a nice tack is their entry speed into that maneuver was 55 kilometers an hour. Really built speed into the tack to stay foiling.
At gate 3, what is Outridge going to do? Neck and neck with the Kiwis.
Great ley line from Burling. And it's the gold medalist from Rio in the 49er class and the gold medalist from London 2012 in the 49er class. They're used to racing each other. Here we go. It's a bit of a clash of the titans. Early jibe. Both of them trying to find wind. It's close with Australia and Japan there, but I think they've just avoided it. 3rd place. Ben Ainsley and the British crew moving back in, and look how quickly things can change. No real mistake from Seherstedt, but ran out of wind, and he's dropped from 1st to 4th.
2, 1, and forward. Big trim, big trim, big trim.
So Denmark having some issues there in the rounding. New Zealand in front, Japan, Great Britain, Denmark in 4th. The Americans dropping back to 7th. Remember, Spain is out today because of damage during practice. And the Kiwis looking very good. Welcome back to SailGP, Pete Burley.
Great point you make there, Todd. These guys really the restart of their SailGP career after taking time out for the Tokyo Olympics, where they took a silver medal.
So we can see here the head-to-head Denmark-New Zealand. The reason that New Zealand are leading this race, 98% fly time. The Danes have fallen off the foils a little bit.
Tight down here. I'm surprised how close this race is staying in this light, shifty breeze. Both boats now, Outridge up at 53 kilometres an hour. It's all about who's lined up for this gate at the bottom best. If you can get in and out here quickly, they'll have control for the final leg.
Nathan Outridge, the helmsman for Japan SailGP.
Looks like they've all got one more manoeuvre to do between the Japanese and the Kiwis here, Todd. It's going to come down to this last jibe in. Outridge has jibed early. Has he got it right? Chance to squeeze inside the Kiwis. Let's see who's going to get there first. It's going to be tight. Nathan Outridge on the inside. Is he overlap? Does he have right of way? Yes, he does. Burling must stay clear as they round up round here. It's tight. Great work by Outridge. The perfect ley line. It's these minute decisions that are making the difference here. And this upwind leg now is going to be a real match race between these two titans.
So Japan and New Zealand around gate number 4 going 1 and 2. Great Britain still in the mix, sitting in 3rd. Denmark has dropped back to 4th place. Australia 5th, France 6th, and the Americans in 7th.
Todd, this is the final upwind leg now. This is the last chance to really make a good move here. Good tack by Outridge, and he heads across to cover off Great Britain.
We've seen this before, haven't we? The Japanese in lighter airs, not getting great starts, but they are the boat that has the ability to sail up through the fleet. Mark 1, 6th, now 2nd.
And board. I don't know, looking at the seppos, it looks right. We're going to get lifting pressure.
Here we go. That's Nathan Outridge. He's talking. We're going to get. He's talking ahead. If you're having your conversation in the future, that's a really good sign. You've got to try and predict what's coming. And look, we can see there Jimmy Spittle, 7th place. Crew change on board. He's really struggling in these shifty conditions. But Nathan Outridge, look at the different angles they're sailing. That's purely because the wind is a slightly different direction on Nathan Outridge, and he's nearly heading straight up the course. It's all about how fast you progress up the course. And Outridge, great wind shift there, and looks like he's going fast at the moment.
So what was a 4-boat race now is down to a head-to-head matchup between the Japanese and the Kiwis here in race number 1. Remember, 2 more races still to come, but guys, as we've seen in the past events, if you don't get a good start on day number 1 in the first 3 races, it's almost impossible to make that final on day 2.
So hard. We see here now, this is a crucial moment in the race. When Outridge tacks, he's tacking onto port. That means that the Kiwi team of Burling has the right of way. He has to be sure he's ahead here. Draper, that was Chris Draper. No issue with the Kiwis. Looks like he's across.
Really, really light at the top of the course, Stevie. It's just dropped below 12 kilometres an hour. That's under 6 knots in old money. This could shut down and have a real concertina on the fleet. Stand by for anything.
Standing by. Well, this is what they've got to have their head out of the boat. Be pretty happy to back Nathan Outridge and Chris Draper in this kind of situation, but they are off the foils. That was Outridge. Huge gain for GBR here, so Ben Ainsley may have found some more wind, but as we say that, popping up onto the foils is Burling and the New Zealand boat, and I think they could be lined up well for this gate 1. Wow, look at the differences in angles here. Outridge having to dip behind Sehested. He's got himself back in the race. Has Sehested got across on New Zealand? He has the right of way. This is going to come down. Last 200 metres up to this final gate. Any more manoeuvres is going to be crucial.
So it's 1 more gate and then the blast into the finish line for race number 1, and it is all back together again. Japan, Denmark, New Zealand, and Australia 1 through 4.
Look at the acceleration there as they dip behind on the Kiwi boat. Sehested not going to lay back of screen there. Australia, they're up on the foils charging in. This is going to be tight. It's going to come down to this last tack. Australia coming through underneath Japan. Japan will have to keep clear. Can he keep clear of Slingsby? Where has Slingsby come from? It's found Sabreeze, and it's Ainsley in a big gust of wind at the top. 1 more tack to do for Ainsley. These boats have completed the tack. It's going to come down to this final tack in here. Can Ainsley stick it? Here he goes. Needs to stay on the foil. Whoa! He's fought the wing too late. Oh, Parkinson. No, they fluff the tack. It's all about the re-acceleration here. The tack under pressure.
And how about this? The Danes are going to come back from behind. They were in 4th place and falling back. And as they come to the line in light breeze, it will be Denmark claiming the win in front of the home crowd.
Slingsby through at the finish to 2nd and on the line. Oh, I can't call it. I think it's Burling in 3rd. Oh, it came down to 1 tack, the money tack, and they missed it.
Oh, man. Wowee.
What a finish by Nikolai Sehested as the Danes get their first win of season 2, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
Foiling. Yep. Foiling here, S. Yeah, I'm going to find my way through them. It's really heavy above them.
Still work to do, though. There's 2 more races to go, but that is a huge victory for ROCKWOOL Denmark SailGP. What a performance by Nikolai Sehested. It looked like on the penultimate leg that they were out of the race, and they come back to find the win and get it done for the victory. So take a look at the results from race number 1. What a performance again. Nikolai Sehested, Denmark gets the win. Australia squeezes in for second place. New Zealand in third. Then it's Great Britain, who looked like they had a win. They will have to settle for fourth. Japan, France, and the USA finishing at the bottom.
You want me? Yeah. You want me? Yeah. Got it.
The umpires, Spain, you have been black flagged for the race.
Phil Robertson's not happy. He's been kicked out of this race. Send your boat back to the dock.
There's rubbish. They couldn't get to us, umpires.
3, 2, 1, look.
All boats must carry the all-purpose wing today, standing at 23.7 metres tall with an area of 102 square metres. The foils will be the bigger of the two that the F50 can use, known as the light-to-air boards, measuring 2 metres deep and almost 3 metres in the horizontal span. The bigger area allows foiling earlier at 27 kilometres an hour, although the downside of increased area and drag reduces the achievable top speed. At the back of the boat, the rudders do more than just steer. To allow the wing to carry more power and help keep the boat level from front to back, each has a horizontal elevator that has to handle forces of a ton or over.
Back in Aarhus, Denmark for the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix. And just moments ago, Denmark gets the win. We're happy to be joined now by their helmsman, Nikolai Sehested. Nikolai, take us through that last leg and where you guys were able to find that breeze to cross the line first.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky out here. You look like a hero one moment and you zero next moment. So when we lost the lead on the first upwind, we knew there was going to be options on the second upwind at the top there. It's just tricky up there, so we just tried to do the opposite. We did the first upwind and go to the right, and that paid off.
Is there a sweet spot on the course, Nikolai? Because it seemed like, as you said, you guys were out of it, coming up with 2 legs to go, and then all of a sudden you found the breeze. Is it that puffy out there?
It is really puffy, and there's not really a system to it. So I think you just gotta sail what you see and be a little bit flexible, and don't get too stressed when you fall behind boats, because it's a bit of snake and ladders out here. So a bit of patience and calm boat is probably key today.
Well done out there, and I know you made the home fans very happy, so we wish you the best in race number 2.
Thanks very much, guys.
Well, just a few minutes now to the second race of the day, but first, let's look at the risk and rewards of a start at the windward end of the line, as highlighted in Plymouth by Spain's Black Flag. You can divide this start into 2 fleets, the most boats away from the wind to leeward, the smaller fleet closer to the wind, in the windward position. The boats to leeward, including the USA, have right-of-way over all the boats closer to the wind, including Spain. When the boats are on the same tack as all of these are, windward boats must keep clear of the boats to leeward. So, Japan, Denmark, and Spain have no rights and must not force any of the leeward boats to change course to avoid them, or they will be penalized. As the clock counts down, the windward boats have a gap at the line.
The Spanish put the bow down. If they get a pop on here and get an acceleration, they will absolutely launch onto the racecourse. Have they nailed it?
And as it turns out, Spain gets a great start. But when it goes wrong, it costs. Race 4 in Taranto, and New Zealand, as the boat to leeward, furthest from the wind, has right-of-way over France, which is making a dash for the windward end of the line. France, as windward boat, will have to stay clear of New Zealand, but the gap closes.
No room. Green there. Clear start. And New Zealand, Sarah Faggis. Wow, he was so aggressive.
Frustration on France. That's bad, but it can get worse, as we saw in Plymouth race 3. Everyone is down to leeward except Spain, who must stay clear of the boats to leeward downwind. And driver Robertson is banking on having a gap on the line to get through. All the boats to leeward have right-of-way over the Spanish to windward, and Robertson is closely watching the nearest Denmark and the USA. If he forces them to avoid him, he will be penalized. At the gun, you will see Spain clears Denmark just. But watch the USA turn left. They thought they would hit Spain. They protest, and while Spain sail away into the lead, the umpires speak up.
Spain, you have been black flagged from the race.
Oh,
please move to the edge of the area.
Here's the view on board the USA. Watch driver Spithill turn the boat hard away from Spain. That's what sealed Spain's fate. And who says sailing is a gentle sport? Certainly not at this level. We'll have a look at what happened yesterday to wing trimmer Paul Campbell-James aboard USA in just one incident out on the water here in Aarhus.
The Americans are in. The Americans are capsizing. Oh, goodness!
Team USA almost puts it over. Can they save it?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, did manage to continue sailing out there, but as we can see here, he did find out he had a broken leg, and sadly he's out here for the event in Aarhus. Huge blow for the US team.
Right, let's have a look at the key moment of that race, and it has to be the finish. Look at the 5 boats here coming into the last gate, and the Brits had it all there in their hands to win, and they just had a slightly late wing pop, and it meant they couldn't power up and sail over the top of the Danish. I'd have put money on the Japanese and Kiwi 1-2 around the leeward gate, but that's just an example of how fickle and fluky this race course is. It is not over until it's over, and a fantastic win for the Danish in home waters.
Little chance for us to look at the start here, and we see the fleet coming back, and in this lighter winds it's important to either be up on the foils with a bit of speed or on that front row coming in. New Zealand, Great Britain, they're doing a good job, but it's New Zealand up towards the top of the line, the Danish in the middle of the line, who are first up onto the foils. So as we turn down and start to head as the line goes clear, we can see a perfect start in terms of time and distance for Ainsley, but it's Denmark and it's New Zealand up on the foils going fastest at the gun, and they were the ones in the lead at Mark 1.
So it's how you end the race, and Denmark perfectly positioned to capture that puffy breeze that took them from really 4th place, guys, to 1st place. And you could not have painted a better picture here at the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix as the home team picks up the win on race 1. 2 more still to go with just over 3 minutes until our next race.
I've been looking at the numbers of their manoeuvring, and we all know at the beginning of the season we were saying the Danish might not be the best in the corners. And they had really, really good tacks and jibes in their race. I'm ranking the teams on their bottom speed in the manoeuvres, and consistently the Danish had high bottom speed, so that means they don't slow down as much as others. Credit to the coach, credit to their analysis. They are going faster and doing better than they did in our first event in Bermuda.
And Stevie, I love what Nikolai Sehested said during our interview about you go from 0 to hero in a matter of moments, especially on this course. So do you see the conditions changing enough where we're going to see a different track here in race 2 than we saw in race 1?
The nature of the topography here is that it's going to be gusty and shifty. I don't know how many times you've ever played Super Mario Kart or anything like that, Todd, but it's those kind of bullets of wind are coming down. It's like running into a magic rocket pack that's going to pick you up and accelerate you. And as much as Freddie says about the manoeuvres, I'm absolutely sure that's right, but they'll be definitely finding more wind into their manoeuvres and executing them at the right time. It's about joining the dots today. The gusts are the dots. You can see them. They're big black patches on the water, and the sailors should be able to spot them, read them. They can put themselves in the right place. Big opportunity.
So a beautiful afternoon in Aarhus, Denmark for the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix as we get set for race number 2. So Aarhus with partly cloudy skies as we approach 90 seconds to go to race number 2 as we check in now with Ali Vance down on the water.
Yeah, Todd, some of the teams are bringing in some fresh arms. Denmark, GB, Japan and France, all changing a grinder, the guys that do all the work at the front of the boat. The wind, though, that sort of remains the same, but what is happening, and we've seen this over the last few days, is the difference between the top and the bottom. At the top, the windward gate nearest the city, it's much lighter there as the wind is affected by those tall buildings, whereas at the bottom, further from the city, we've got stronger winds, and actually the difference can be as much as 10 to 12 kilometers an hour.
All right, thank you very much, Ali. As we are 1 minute away from race number 2, Freddies, you will tell us the grinders are the stars of these boats. So how big of a deal is that they've swapped out some crew members?
Yeah, it tells us that it's actually, although it's not really windy, it's really active on the wing sheet, and the grinders are getting out of puff, so they're getting some new horsepower on there. The question here for me, Todd, is where do you start? I thought in race 1 I'd want to come off the bottom of the line. That's where the British came off, and they got rolled by 3 boats. Stevie, where are you starting?
If you can be off the bottom of the line on the foils, no problem. You've just got to be up on the foils. You've got to be far enough back to give yourself a run up. See that dark patch of water moving down there? That's the gust of wind. If you can find yourself in one of those, you're going to have a good opportunity. On the foils, though, Jimmy Spithill coming back, pushing in on the Kiwis. I like where Spithill is at the moment. Good control. Out the back, it's Outridge. I don't see a gap. It's Spithill or Slingsby here.
This is the umpire's penalty, New Zealand, penalty New Zealand,
for the Kiwis,
penalty
not keep it clear. Here comes Slingsby. 4 seconds to go. They're blasting in. It's Spithill and Slingsby blasting down towards mark number 1. 3 boats with a perfect start. Can Spithill and his US crew hang on in there? Slingsby seems to have found a rocket pack as he blasts towards mark number 1.
Okay, puff on here. 2, 1. I think it's 20. Copy. I've got to be careful on the left. It's going to be soft around the mark.
As they come to mark number 1, it's the Americans on the inside, the Australians on the outside, a little bit faster as they make the turn here onto leg number 2.
Inside position for Jimmy Spithill. He has control. He sets up to jibe first. Here we go. Needs to stay on the foils. They're turning.
There's your angle, Jimmy.
That's the voice of Rome Kirby. He's calling the angle out of the jibe. And it's a nice jibe by the Americans, but it's Besson who's jibed well, and the Australians look like they might be down to ley line, and they've got their wind clear. It's going to be tight as we come into gate 2. Look at the speed of Billy Besson, and the French crew nailed that first jibe.
A little stat for you, Stevie. The Australian team, where they get to Mark 1, they normally finish in that position. If they get there in the top 3, they'll finish in the top 3. If they get there in the back, they'll stay at the back. They very rarely move through the fleet. But this is different in Aarhus, the urban racecourse.
Like you say, it really is urban racing, and its opportunities are here till the end of the race. This one is not over until it's over. Ainsley sets up for a jibe. He's going to be looking to take a right turn at the bottom, potentially splitting away from Besson and the French crew, who seem to have got the perfect ley line, but they're losing speed. And here comes Jimmy Spittle round the outside. It's going to be tight out of this gate number 2.
At gate 2, France with the lead. The USA recovers nicely on that downward leg to get into second place. Australia in third. Remember, they had the drag race to Mark 1 with the Americans, but it is France and Billy Besson who have taken over the lead here as they head back onto leg 3.
It's going to be tight here. First to tack away is Tom Slingsby. He's tacked away in third. He's following out to that left-hand side of the course. We saw some boats make gains earlier. Now it's all about the quality of the tack.
This is a good example of the wind speed here. GBR on the left-hand side, France on the right-hand side of the racecourse looking upwind. Very similar pressure at the bottom.
Just about saved that tack. There you go. That's Lee McMillan coaching on the tack there. A little bit too high. I agree. They wasn't the perfect tack, but they're just about in. That's Lee McMillan again. Needs to work on his French.
We know that when the French fire up like they do now, with Lee talking a little bit more, that's when they actually sail well. Unlike most sports teams, it needs all about being calm. When Lee gets going, the boat gets going fast, and there he is, talking in the middle, holding the wing sheet.
Through these gusts, yeah?
Coming in from the top of screen, it's Tom Slingsby. He has to keep out the way of the starboard backs. It's going to be close. Let's watch the duck with Slingsby as he dips behind Spittle.
So with a possible opportunity for Slingsby and the Australians to go into first, they did not have right away, so the French hold on to it. But look at the Americans currently sitting in second place and matching the speed.
Going really. That's the voice of Lee McMillan still. He's talking them in. They're going to get to the boundary here, and Jimmy Spittle will be able to tack, but it's definitely still advantage Besson, as we see in the background. Sehested tacking away. Looks like he's on a charge through the fleet, up to second from fifth at gate 2. Sehested, local knowledge coming into play.
Top of the course, the Americans and the French. Nikolai Sehested, the winner of race number 1, in the middle. And another close call.
Tight tack at the top there.
This is the umpires. Penalty France, not giving room at a boundary.
That was penalty France
3 metres to clear. Penalty clear.
To port. He then gains all the rights because his green light is flashing. Rookie manoeuvre by the French. That was coming from miles away.
That was. I completely agree with the umpires on that. There was some controversy in Plymouth, but that was a good call by the umpires. This is tight. Lead change. Spittle now into the lead, but it's Sehested on this side, along with the Australians, chasing down Jimmy Spittle.
Yeah, copy.
So the Americans in the lead. Australia coming together on the right-hand side of the course. This will be an interesting crossing with the Americans, the Australians, and the French.
Crossing now.
USA, tight call for Spittle. Is he brave? He is brave. He sneaks across in front, but Sehested has the right of way here. Let's have a look.
Guys. Now I'm pressing through to the next pass in front.
Oh, he's just stuck the tack in front. If he can lay the mark, he can lead at this top, but they've both fallen off the foils. They're slow. Both hulls in the water. They're both slow. Where's the next charge coming from? It's outerage in the Japanese boat is up and foiling. Let's see if he can sail right round him.
The USA have been so fast on this upwind. They've been 3 kilometres an hour on average quicker than any other boat on the racecourse. Credit to that crew change. Saunders coming in with Campbell James's injury, and they have clicked instantly a ripping upwind.
Yeah. Here we go.
So the Americans pop up on the foils at gate number 4 as they make the turn in the lead. Denmark in second. Australia splits the course, goes to the opposite side.
Great work at the top of the leg there by Tom Slingsby and the Australian crew, but this race is so tight there. Who's found the most wind? You see, look at Jimmy Spittle there. He's looking everywhere, trying to find the breeze.
And the Americans finding a lot of pressure on that side of the course. Look at the speed, just hitting 50 kilometers an hour, and they have a nice lead now. Can they maintain it? Because it's down to the bottom of the course, back up, and then to the finish.
Really learning on the job in that American boat. This is the new crew with Jason Saunders replacing Paul Campbell-James today, and my word, they're learning fast. But Sehested solidifies that second position as we charge down to this bottom gate again. We know the decision at the bottom of the course here will be crucial as we face the last upwind leg of the race. This is going to be very, very tight.
For Spithill and company, they desperately need a win here. Remember, they finished in 7th place in race number 1, and you want to have enough points going into day 2 where you don't put yourself into a corner, because you've got to be in that final race.
Sehested looks pretty relaxed there, doesn't he? He's out for an afternoon sail by the look of it.
The Danes winning race number 1 on home waters, currently sit in 2nd place here on leg 4. They'll get down to this gate, make a turn, head upwind, and then it's a short blast to the finish. Can you imagine, Stevie, if the Danes can go 1 and 2 on the first 2 races?
So this is the leg summary of the upwind. Just look how much faster the Americans were compared to the Danish. They were absolutely gunning it up there. They sailed a greater distance, but they were faster.
Tight cross coming here, Denmark and Australia, but it looks like Jimmy Spithill, he's got the ley line and he's going to lead at this bottom turning gate. Right turn. Australia will split the course with Jimmy Spithill, who spotted the most breeze. Looks like a nice job by Slingsby. Got himself some space, got himself an opportunity.
And on the last upwind, I felt like the bottom right-hand corner where the Australians are heading was a real nice place to go. Will they come back into the Americans here and eat into the lead?
Slingsby came into gate 4 awfully fast. The rest of the fleet coming through, so it's USA, Denmark, Australia, Japan, and Great Britain bringing up the rear with France and New Zealand.
On board the US boat, of course, this time last leg they were neck and neck with the French. French made one mistake and they're back to 6th. No mistakes can happen here. Nice tack by the US crew. And here we go, let's have a look at the wind. The wind looks remarkably similar on each boat, so the angle of the wind will be crucial. Who's sailing the shorter distance by having a beneficial angle of wind? Now the USA pick up more wind. This surely is going to be good for Jimmy Spithill and the US team. 5 kilometres an hour more speed, that could be 10 kilometres an hour. Wow, look at that gain. He's taken 100 metres in the space of the first minute of this upwind leg, and Sehested looks like he's through to 2nd place. It will be tight.
That's why I'm not a tactician, Stevie. I'd have got that one wrong, wouldn't I? Awful call.
Sehested looks so relaxed out there today. Tom Johnson there, the wing trimmer, talking to him. There will be puffs from the right, you just can't see them yet. That's because they're coming over the land.
Coming over the city, coming over high-rise buildings.
Great shot of how stable that platform is there. They're sailing the boat so well in these gusty conditions.
And this is the tricky part, as we saw in race number 1. This is leg 5 of 6. It gets to the next gate, and then it's a short blast to the finish line. The question is, will there be enough breeze, and will the Americans have enough distance to close this thing out and get the win?
We heard Sehested talk about hero or zero. If there's going to be a hero or a zero for me on this race, it's going to be Tom Slingsby. He's split from the fleet. Has he made the right call? It doesn't look great at the moment. Potentially a big loss for the Australian, but we know everything can change very quickly. Slingsby's gone from 2nd, and he's all the way back in 5th.
The difference in this race is the American upwind, as they're having a sticky moment now, and the difference with their speed upwind is they've got more camber, they've got a more powerful wing set up. Sanders has stepped on this boat today, and he has got it absolutely flying. A powerful wing setup in these funky conditions means they're going faster upwind.
Have a look at the screen though. There's Nathan Outridge tacking out towards this ley line. It's going to come down to these final 2 manoeuvres for the good crews. Good speed on board the Japanese boat. Straight up onto the foils. Can Spithill stick the tack? It's going to be tight as we come in at the gate here, Tom.
Japan has moved up to 2nd place. Nathan Outridge there with the hand on the wheel. Chris Draper to his left. This is where the race will come down, these final 100 meters in this next gate.
All about the execution of this next tack. Jimmy Spittle's got good speed. Tom Slingsby's back into it from nowhere. Outridge has the right of way on the inside over Slingsby, but it's all about how good your tack is here. Jimmy Spittle, can you stay on the foils? Nathan Outridge, can you stay on the foils? Good tack from the USA. Oh, a bit late for the Japanese for me there. Not their best tack. Tom Slingsby on the inside and on the foils. He's going to sneak through and take second again.
And in race number 2, it's going to be Team USA that gets the win here in Denmark as Jimmy Spithill and company rebound from a 7th place to take a 1st.
It came down to a wing pop again there on the Japanese. They, just like the Brits in race 1, they had a late wing pop that meant they didn't power up on the new reach, and that was it.
The manoeuvring in these conditions is so hard. It's all about being able to enter these manoeuvres at a constant speed and execute consistently, but the wind's not consistent, so it's so hard. But Seherstedt, wow, 1st and a 4th, great start. And Ben Ainsley, there's 5th coming across the line now. He's not going to be happy. One unforced error by Besson. He's dropped to 7th.
So Ben Ainsley, who looked so good in practice leading up to here, now has himself a 4th and a 5th in 2 races. So he'll need a big finish in race number 3. But Jimmy Spithill, Team USA, they get it done. They were backed into a corner, guys, because they could not afford not to have a top 3 here in race number 2.
No, and they, as we said during the race, Jimmy doesn't really move through the fleet that much. And he went around the first mark 2nd and finished 3rd. That's what he does.
Let's take a look at the results in race number 2. It's Jimmy Spithill, USA. They get the win. Australia, Japan, and Denmark finishing in 4th, with Great Britain, New Zealand, and France rounding out the field of 7. Remember, Spain did not start because of a damaged boat in practice. Glad to be joined now by Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP. Jimmy, what a race today. You saw how fluky it is out there in race number 1. Were you pretty confident after you got to that first mark that you guys could hold on for the win?
Not really, no. It's quite a difficult racetrack. It really is a bit of a minefield, and I think whether in first or last, everyone's got a bit of an opportunity at the moment. So, yeah, it makes for exciting racing.
You make an adjustment. You bring on Mr. Saunders. I think he did himself quite well there in race number 2.
Yeah, he did a great job. I mean, man, it's impressive. I mean, he's come in late last night, jumped in, no training, no practice, and just slotted in real nicely with the boys. So, yeah, we're going to have some fun.
Jimmy, now as you look to race number 3, you've got a 7th and a 1st. How important is it going to be for you guys to finish in the top 3 looking on to tomorrow's final day of racing?
Yeah, we're just going to take it one by one. I mean, I feel like each race we're just getting stronger. With Jason, we're obviously building our communication, and obviously the mechanics are really, really difficult in these conditions. So, yeah, we're just trying to take a few gains in each race, each manoeuvre, and we'll just see how we stand tomorrow.
Jimmy, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. We'll see you in race number 3 as we now bounce on over to Australia SailGP, the defending champions, Tom Slingsby. Tom, somehow you guys have been magicians coming from the back and getting 2 seconds in a row. You got to be feeling pretty good with the conditions the way they are.
Yeah, the conditions are tough, that's for sure. Yeah, we've been definitely back in the first race and managed to sort of somehow recover, and that one we're up the front, but snakes and ladders. We're up there, then we're back, but the guys are doing a great job so far.
Strategy-wise, what are you going to try to do now that you're sitting on those 2 second-place finishes here in the 3rd race? What do you need to get done?
Honestly, we can't really worry about other teams right now. We need to worry about ourselves. It's very easy to fall back in the fleet and have bad results. We just need a good results here. Knock in one more good result, and that'll put us in a nice position heading into tomorrow. I remember in Plymouth we won the first 2 races and we had a poor last race, and it was sort of all on for the next day. So we need a good result now in the 3rd race.
Tom, appreciate the time. We'll see you in race 3.
Thank you.
I'm Rome Kirby. I'm the flight controller on board USA SailGP team. Come for a little lap around the boat. So just came from breakfast. Yeah, we just got to the base here in Aarhus. Usually when I get to the base, I do a quick check over of the foils. boards, rudders. We've recently had some issues with our rudders. So that's been my main focus is kind of the flight controller, just making sure our gear's ready to go. But yeah, this is our changing room. And what's up, fellas? You know, I run a different setup than most of the guys. But yeah, I usually try and stay dry, keep warm. Boats are going pretty fast. You've got a lot of apparent wind over the boat. So, you know, if you're not physically doing anything, which I'm not, you get pretty cold pretty quick. Yeah, I'll kind of stretch and get warm. You know, to try and squeeze a solid training session in is pretty tough. And then you're just craning boats in and out, and then we got to deal with the media like you guys. Do you want to go in? So yeah, this is our coaching area. This is where Philippe kind of, you know, breaks everything down for us. The mastermind, the mad scientist. A lot of us will come in here. This is where we have our debriefs. We'll come in and ask him questions, you know, because he has all the data and does an awesome job for us breaking it down and even into our, you know, little areas, if that makes sense. So yeah, usually, you know, at the end of a race day, wash the boat, wing comes out, boat gets craned out, boat gets washed off. Usually roll back in here, dry the boat off. You know, the tech team and the shore team and the sailing team, we check over the boat, check your area, make sure everything's ready to go for the next day if something needs to be fixed. That'll go on the job list. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Thanks for watching Behind the Scenes with SailGP USA.
Okay, here's the key moment of that race for me, and we talked about it, how they were much faster going upwind. The reason for that is Saunders there, talking into his microphone, had the wing set up so deep, and he wasn't playing the twist as much. This is when they came into the boundary, and this is where they took the lead. As soon as they cross the dotted line and tack, they have the right of way, and it's on the French to stay out their way. And you can see there, Spithill had to avoid the French. That is where the lead change happened. So a combination of nice tactical manoeuvres and fantastic upwind boat speed launched them to the front of the fleet. Here they are crossing the line, and Australia just creeping through Japan to take second place.
Well, in the 2 seasons of SailGP, there had never been a disqualification for overly aggressive sailing. And that was until the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix in Plymouth, when Spain thought they timed the start perfectly and snuck across the line with room to spare.
Great chance for us to look at the start here, and what's been really interesting on the starting today is how far away from the line all the boats are. 14 seconds to go, and we're going to focus on Australia and France there. You can see they're already up and foiling. That circle there shows a dark patch of water, big gust of wind, and they're both beautifully lined up with that. Outerage in Japan is just too far back at this distance, and it's 3 boats, USA, Australia and France, up on the foils with 9 seconds to go, and they can just charge for this start line. You still see that dark patch of wind. That's why they're going so fast, up and foiling, perfect timing. Those 3 boats blasting across the line.
And that's when it works perfectly, getting it timed just right. As we mentioned earlier, in 2 seasons of SailGP, there'd never been a disqualification for overly aggressive sailing, and that was, of course, until the incident at Great Britain in the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix in Plymouth. And when the chief umpire spoke, it was the final word, and it wasn't good.
You want my honest opinion or my political answer? What's your honest opinion?
The umpires, Spain, you have been black flagged from the race.
Robertson goes from being Houdini to black flagged.
That is rubbish. They couldn't get to us, umpire.
And if you give a black flag and then you're still not sure, umming and ahhing whether it was a black flag or not, I think you made the wrong call.
It's obvious Phil has done this more than once. This isn't like his first offence.
Watching out for the Spanish, no room! Oh, big incident there, surely a protest on the Spanish crew.
Absolutely deserving. I actually think the penalty should be harsher if you're a repeat offender.
He's done it so many times, he's going to kill someone doing that.
Maybe those critics, they should look into their teams first and see massive crash, massive damage.
And he's collided with the US crew. This is a big moment on board here. The Japanese boat on board the American boat.
If you speed up, it's probably going to come down at some point.
This is a major, major collision.
We saw that black flag that Phil got in Plymouth. You know, I think on reflection was probably pretty harsh.
Yeah, I haven't changed my opinion in that. I think if it was any other team, it would have been really harsh.
If us going out there trying to win starts is making us unpopular, then so be it. You know, we're here to win races and win events, and we're going to keep pushing. I'm never going to relax. You know, we're here to win. We're here to win races, and that's my attitude, and that's what I'm going to stick to.
So we are getting set for the third and final race of today, and then tomorrow it'll be 2 races before the final race. 3 minutes to go before this last race, so adjustments being made throughout. It'll be 7 boats once again competing against Spain. If you're just joining us, damaged their boat during practice in the lead up to today's racing, so they are done for the day, missing out on all the opportunities to score points there before tomorrow's 2 races, and then again the final race. As we get a good look at Australia, who have been so good so far, consistently second and second. They currently lead on 14 points, with Denmark, USA, and Japan tied in third. And 2.5 minutes to go before the start of the last race of the day as we check in down on the water with Ali Vance.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Just news that the teams are bringing in some fresh arms again. Actually, it's only Australia and New Zealand who are keeping with the same 5 guys on board. All the other teams are changing a grinder like they did before, just bringing in some fresh arms to do all the work at the front of the boat. The wind, though, that remains pretty similar to the last 2 races, and actually that difference between the top and the bottom seems to have leveled out a bit now. So it's remaining around about 20 kilometres an hour.
All right, thank you, Ali. With 2 minutes to go before the final race of the day, guys, you heard the word weather somewhat consistent, a few changes being made there, but I tell you what, as Tom Slingsby told us just a short time ago, they're going to just looking for a good, solid finish, not going to really push the issue.
You've really got to get a good, solid finish. From the 3 events we've seen so far this year, the top 3 on the first day of racing, there are 9 positions available there for the top 3 over the first 3 events. Only once has one of those top 3 then not qualified for the final the next day. So you've got to be sitting pretty at the end of day 1. That one example was from Bermuda after Japan had their crash and the British took their spot in the top 3. So you've really got to be top 3 at the end of day 1.
See the changes being made, as Ali referred to. Ben Ainsley looking for a better performance here, guys. He is sitting on a 4th and a 5th, so it's certainly go time for the Brits as we come up on 1 minute to go for the start of the final race of the day.
Just approaching pin lane now.
That's the voice of Ian Jensen there talking to Ben Ainsley, talking about the position they can tack and make that bottom end of the start line. We've seen that's been favoured. Interesting to see Nathan Outridge slightly up the line this time. He's struggled so far.
He hasn't had 2 great starts so far, but he is tied in 3rd place on 10 points with the USA. What we've seen from the Japanese so far is they've just got a little bit distance from the line, but we can see him here leading back with the Danish crew are currently in 2nd place, 1 point off the lead.
Big change of strategy for Japan and Outridge. That's clearly been spotted by their coach out on the water there. He's now got good control up on the foil. It's Ainsley a long way back at the bottom of the line. He's going to have a chance to dive in. He's foiling. Slingsby's foiling at the top of the line. Have they judged it right? Looks like a gap's going to open at the bottom of the line for Ainsley. How's your timing, Ben? It's going to be tight as we turn down. Burling turns down. 2-1. Look for the line to go wide. What a start from Ainsley through the bottom of the line there. And it's Ainsley and Burling blasting to mark number 1. Time and distance spot on from those 2 crews.
Unfortunately for the Americans, they come off the foil, so they are in the back of the pack. And Ben Ainsley looking for something big here at mark number 1.
70 kilometres an hour here. That's the voice of Ian Jensen getting softer. We know as you get under these buildings, there's lighter wind. It's going to be interesting what the manoeuvre is around this Mark 1.
1 down. Keep coming.
Big acceleration on board the boats there. Hard to foil them smooth.
Still got depth in the bank a little. Scott, stand by.
That's Ian Jensen just telling about the moding they want to sail, but a little jibe away early here from the British crew.
So Denmark, the first ones to jibe at mark number 1. It is Great Britain with the lead, New Zealand is second, and Australia currently sitting in third. The Americans dropping back to 7th.
There were some good jibes on the boundary there that time, Todd. It's been quite shifty there, but they were good jibes.
Left turn, guys.
Keeping it simple, Ben Ainsley clearly confident of being down on ley line. He wants a left turn, and out the back it's Slingsby's fallen off the foils. Look at the speed, 22 kilometres an hour. Third to last in the blink of an eye.
Come on. Yeah, I think it's going to be left, okay, so we should lay.
Still calm on board the Australian boat. Long race here. That's Jason Waterhouse. We will lay, no issue.
Coming up at gate number 2, it'll be Great Britain. Remember, they're looking for a big performance here after a 4th and a 5th in the first 2 races.
Angle, on a slightly higher mode. Real nice, anyway.
It's the voice of Peter Burling. Really nice rounding there. Right in behind there, and it's Nathan Outridge, jibed on top of the French. He's taking a right turn. He's the first one looking for wind on the other side of the course. I think if you can be leading out of a mark, you're in good position. Chris Draper shouting to his grinders. Look, they're a little bit slow trimming the wing in, and look at the French, the job they've accelerated up inside.
So Australia gets past the USA. They move into 6th place, dropping the Americans back to 7th. Tied at the top of the course on that side of the course. Meanwhile, while all that chaos going on, it is Great Britain and New Zealand having their own little battle at the bottom.
Oh, I think that we got a superb Trebiat off the French boat there. It's very unusual that you hear them saying congratulations to each other, and that's because they did a lovely tack out on that boundary and have propelled themselves into 3rd place.
Great job, and we can see here now it's the people that took the right turn. Little gain, sorry, the left turn came right at the bottom. New Zealand and the British team that have made the gain here. The British are locked in. He's out in front. They need a good result here if they're going to be near that top 3 at the end of today on board the British boat. It's really interesting to listen as they sail in a straight line. Constant communication between Ben Ainsley and Ian Jensen.
And you can see the British there just stepping up the ladder. They're sailing a slightly higher mode. I'm looking at the wing twist numbers here. Ian Jensen, the wing trimmer on board the British boat, plays that the most. It's like a hummingbird wing, and it steps them up towards the next gate. They sail in a higher mode compared to the rest of the fleet.
Still tight though, the Kiwis are hanging in there, and Tom Slingsby, look at that. He seems to do a great job of getting out of phase, and by that I mean when the others are going left to right, he's going right to left, and when they're going right to left, he's going left to right. He's in space, able to sail his own mode, and that's what Ben Ainsley and the British crew are able to do at the moment. They're out in front, they've got control over their decisions, but it's the Kiwis, they've taken 50 metres out of them in this little bit, on a straight line speed there. It's getting closer.
Hold. Okay, stand by.
And this is the tricky portion of the course where the wind kind of dies down because of the high rises, the buildings, and the forest up on the hill. So they'll have to work this tricky wind. You'll see the wind speeds start to dip as they get up to this next gate. This is like 3 of 6, so coming up on the halfway point.
Good job by the British crew here as they approach gate 3. They are on the ley line. No more manoeuvres to do for the British. And the Kiwis, look at them, bottom of screen, 18 kilometres an hour. They've dropped off the foils. Huge loss for the New Zealand team here. Big gain for Ainsley as he turns away at gate 3.
Okay, angle. Back now. Good for a bit here. Yep.
So at gate 3 and on to leg number 4, it is Britain out in front. The rest of the fleet, look how tight it is across the board. And now they have to negotiate this heavy crowd. Lots of traffic here at the top of the course.
It's tight between the French and the Kiwis. The French must keep clear. Oh, there's surely a protest there. Big moment. The French had to keep clear. It's going to be interesting what the umpires make of that, but they're off the foils on both those boats. and it's an opportunity for Japan and Nathan Outridge to split the course. Second, it's New Zealand. Third, Besson. Surprised not to have heard from the umpires here, and it's just sneaking round Nathan Outridge, but he's off the foils as well.
It's the umpires that New Zealand versus France. That was a penalty on France, and penalty is cleared.
So the penalty is issued to France at an inopportune time. You saw the Americans come through. They had the right of way, so both Japan and Australia had to avoid them, and now the Americans are back in it, going from 7th to 4th.
It's a big moment. This downwind is a great opportunity for those boats behind to catch up. Outridge, he does have space, closest to camera here, but does he have wind?
Whoa, what a lead.
His boat speed looks good, but the British are gone in this race, Freddie. They should be able to secure this one, but the race is here. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. It's so tight as the British set up for one more jibe.
Angle, my wheel.
So guys, the question is, why so good now? Great Britain finishes in 4th in race 1. They finished 5th in race 2, and here they are just blowing the rest of the fleet away in race 3.
They just, when they're in the pack, they just got the rub of the green the wrong way in the first 2 races, and we've seen it with these guys, particularly with Ainsley at the helm. When they get to sail free and easy and lock into their own boat speed and their control, they often have a little lick over the rest of the fleet.
When you're in charge of your own decisions, it's easy to make the right ones. When you're compromised by the other boats around, it's harder to find those opportunities. It's a real area for the British to improve on. I don't think they are as good when they're in the pack, but certainly when they're out in front, they're pretty formidable. And here comes Burling. It's been a marked improvement for the Kiwis, but they really need to make this result stick for the rest of the day. Whoa, bit of a turn down out of that jibe. Good control here. How are they on ley line? They're going to be good for 2nd at gate number 4. Final upwind of the race here. We've seen so much action, opportunity for all these boats behind, but it's going to come down to slick manoeuvres in good wind. French, fast on that rounding. Look at the boat speed.
You know, Stevie, that I geek out on finishing positions after the first day. If we finished where we are now, would you believe it would have our series, our overall season 2 leaders, Great Britain, Australia, tied on 17 points, and New Zealand in 3rd on 15, tied with the USA and Denmark. Couldn't be closer.
Nice tack on board the Kiwi. Look at the French in the background. Bad tack. Both hulls in the water. Just flew a little bit too high through that turn. Lost control. And look at the distance it's cost them as they try and get control of the boat again. They're right in the dirty
This
wind
is
of the
the
Kiwis
umpires. Penalty Japan relative Australia. You got about 4 meters to clear, and the penalty is clear.
So penalty in the back of the pack as Japan drops from 5th back to 6th behind Australia. The USA now sitting in 4th place. Now remember, it's just up to the top of the course and then the quick left into the finish line. Great Britain with more than a 500-meter lead. So you pretty much have to lock them into that first place finish. But we've seen crazy things happen, guys, at the top of the course when the wind dies down.
Another tack here. We're watching to see if they can stay on the foils on board the British boat. We had a little helicopter shot a moment ago, and it just showed it's like a minefield of wind up there. There we see on the back of the boat, climate action there. This is the sustainability part. It's a UN-driven initiative that SailGP is really backing here, and great to see that on the back of the boats. They've all got those stickers there. Ainsley, look, he's lined up nicely with those marks. He's in a good patch of breeze. The real race that I'm so excited by is this race between Burling and Besson for 2nd place at the moment. How well can they stick it?
Well, you bring up a good point, Stevie. SailGP is powered by Mother Nature, and they're hoping for some more Mother Nature at the top of the course to bring in some gusts of wind to bring them home. There's the situation right now with Great Britain in the lead. The battle for 2nd is on between Burling and Billy Besson. That's New Zealand and France, with the Americans sitting in 4th.
Good breeze up at gate 5 here as we come in under the city. We've got 22 kilometres an hour wind speed. It means that the Brits should have a nice turn to the finish.
Look at that. Looks, Ainsley said he's going to commit. He thinks there's a right-hand wind shift. He's turned the boat close to the wind, and he's able to just save a manoeuvre. He spotted that wind a long way out. He called Jensen and Parkinson. I need you to help me out. They did. They found a special mode, saved 2 manoeuvres, and they're round, and they're going to put this race number 3 in the bag. That's a big moment for the British crew, who haven't had the best day so far. In the background, it's not going to be as easy for the other boats. Here come the Kiwis. One more tack. 2 to do. They're still ahead of Besson. They stay on the foils.
And race 3 goes the way of the Brits as Ben Ainsley guides them to a victory in the 3rd and final race here in Aarhus. Now the battle is on for positions 2, 3, and 4. Valuable points on the line. Can the Kiwis pull it off and hold off the French?
Oh, it's a good tack by the French. They're on the foils there. And it's Spittle. Where's he come from? Burling will sneak round in second, but can c'est pas possible. Oui, c'est is possible, Billy. There goes Spittle. He's dived through inside. Unbelievable. Billy Besson can't believe it. I can't believe it. Jimmy Spittle can, though.
So it'll be New Zealand holding on for 2nd place, and the race to the finish now as the Kiwis cross the line. And a great point, Stevie. Where did Jimmy Spithill and the Americans come from? Just moments ago, they were back in 5th place. Now they'll finish in 3rd.
Oh, and again round the outside, Slingsby saves a place with a good tack. Brilliant work there. Outridge, can he sneak through for 6? This point could be absolutely crucial when we get to the end of play tomorrow. He does. And Hesed on the line, dropping back. Afraid to say, that tack was a bit bad, Denmark. You did lose a lot of places there, Hesed.
So great finish by the Americans after Ben Ainsley and Great Britain's SailGP just sail away from the rest of the fleet in the 3rd race to get the win. What a performance. As we take a look at the final results, what a race for Great Britain. Ben Ainsley shaking the rust off after missing the last 2 events to come back here in Aarhus to get a big win to wrap up day number 1 of racing. As the rest of the fleet comes in, it'll be on to the docks to bring the boat out, and then it will be on to debriefing as they get ready for tomorrow. 2 big races with the fleet, and then the top 3 boats will go on to the final race of the day as we give you a beautiful look over the top. Ben Ainsley once again gets the win in race number 3. New Zealand behind in 2nd, and the Americans go from 5th to 3rd. Those are valuable points now for Team USA as they finish in 3rd after that 1st place finish in race number 2. Then it's France, Australia, Japan, Denmark, and of course Spain out of the running today because of damage during practice prior to the start of today's racing. So a great day of racing comes to an end here on Aarhus and the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix as we are now joined by Peter Burling in New Zealand. Pete, welcome back to SailGP from your showing in the Olympics. What were the conditions like out there for you guys today?
It was a really nice day. Obviously pretty shifty, made life a little hard, but we're really back in the boat and being able to throw it around.
You guys finished with a 3rd, a 6th, and a 3rd. So you look to tomorrow's races. How critical will those first 2 races be for you guys to get into that final race?
Yeah, I thought we got 2nd that last one, didn't we? But I don't know. We're definitely fighting as hard as we can for every point, and we're just trying to keep improving. Today it felt really good to be able to actually get the boat around the track in good shape. Keep up with these good teams. The British obviously have been setting a bit of a benchmark for their boat handling, so we're happy to be battling it.
Yep, you got
a lot today.
You got a 3rd, a 6th, and a 2nd, of course. So well done to you. As you prepare for tomorrow, guys, what do you need to do to be better tomorrow?
We felt like just picking a few shifts a tiny bit better. Definitely that. We didn't get the best start. We had a bit of an issue with the onboard systems, so we're struggling to tell where the boundaries were. But, just one shift into the top would have got back in the mixer, so
all right.
Just working on details like that.
Pete, appreciate your time. We'll see you tomorrow.
Well, here we are. Great chance to look at the last start. Different to the one before. 14 seconds and the boats, Japan, Denmark, they're earlier leading the fleet back. We can see their only option from this position for all these boats up the line is to sail up the line and away. There's a big hole at this bottom end of the start line now and no one can get there. Burling on board New Zealand, Ainsley on board Great Britain. Well, they're up and foiling at 14. We saw that as good and they're going to have that big hole to sail into, which they do. Up the line, Slingsby's forced to bail out. Outeridge can't accelerate because he's too class. First to turn down, it's New Zealand and Ben Ainsley. Those two boats break the line first.
Right, let's rumble on and look at my key moment, and that is the jibe on the boundary. This is where the Brits had a lovely jibe and the Australians had a sticky one there. As you can see, they crash down into the water and they go into last place. So the Brits had a nice bottom speed and sailed down the course and extended and went on to win the race. And they went on to have a 98% fly time. This is where you don't have great fly time. This is the incidence between France and New Zealand. These guys were really struggling, particularly the French, after penalties to get the boat going again. We come into the finish. That's where the Brits sailed away, and that's where the Brits went on to win the race.
Yeah, great performance by Ben Ainsley to wrap up day one in 3 days of racing. What a performance across the board, but again, it is going to be the Americans looking very good, and they sneak across for that third place finish, which gives them a great hold on third. But this isn't the only racing taking place in the waters of Aarhus today, Freddie. We've got some other talented sailors out there showing what they can do.
Yeah, I think the question you most get asked when you're sailing is how did you get into the sport? And there is no real way of explaining it, but what the Inspire program does is it not only gives the kids their first opportunity to race, but it also gives the best talent in the venues where we sail the opportunity to put their name in lights and show the SailGP teams what the best young talent in that country is all about. What a fantastic pathway to the top of the sport.
So Denmark, a great day for them. Of course, race number one going the way of the team from Denmark. Of course, Denmark SailGP presented by ROCKWOOL. Nikolai Sehested coming out and looked like they were out of the running, guys. They come in at the very end and get the win in front of the home crowd. That's got to be a huge build for their confidence. Beautiful view over the city of Aarhus here for the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix here in season 2. So let's take a look at the standings right now. After 3 races, it is Australia 1 point clear of Great Britain and Ben Ainsley. But look at the Americans and the Kiwis tied on 16 points. And to your point, Freddie, if you fare well on day one, more than likely you're going to be in that final race.
Yeah, as I said with my boring Stato hat on, 8 out of the 9 people that have finished day one in the top 3 positions have gone on to go on into the final race the next day. But look at it there, USA and New Zealand tied on 16, 3 and 4, and Denmark, the home team, just 1 point behind at 15. Really pleased to see Denmark up there, Stevie. What a progression throughout these 4 events they've had.
Absolutely, and what a test of your statistic that's going to be tomorrow. But I think for Sehested, it was a great start. He will be disappointed with that last race, though. Dropping from 4th back to 7th, right at that last turning mark. How costly will that be? That would have been them securely in the top 3, but still, fantastic improvement.
And there you see the team from Denmark as their shore crew comes on board. We'll bring them back in for their dock out. It all comes down to what will happen tomorrow. What will the weather be like? Who will respond the best? And how conservative or aggressive do the teams want to be, knowing that only the top 3 teams will be in that last race and a chance to really score big points in the overall. As we expect Denmark to put on yet another great day of racing here on what could be some very tricky winds and tricky waters. As every helmsman has said, it is a bit tricky out there, the puffy winds coming across this city. So to find out more about what the weather will be and what we should expect for conditions, we check in now down on the water and Ali Vance.
Well, firstly, Todd, talking to some of the boat builders here on site, they've got a busy night ahead of them, but they're confident that they can get a replacement foil ready for the Spain boat. So unless there's some other unknown damage to the boat, they should be racing tomorrow, so should have a full fleet of 8 starting at the 4th race tomorrow. But it is looking very light. The high pressure will really show its face as the winds are anticipated to drop off. There's going to be more of a southerly component to the winds, and the average wind will be around about 5 to 10 kilometres per hour, gusts of around about 18. A sunny day though, with highs of 20 degrees. It's going to be very different weather conditions that we've seen all week here. So not such a windy day, but a sunny one forecast for hopefully a really good day's racing with that 8 boats starting the 4th race.
Well, here we are on a day packed full of highlights. It was often this top end of the course here. Look at the tack in race 1. Ben Ainsley, they missed the pop on the tack. The hull flies high out the water. They desperately try and save it and keep it on the foils, but there it crashes down at that last minute. Had they stayed on the foil, that would have been a race win. But no, what fantastic finish in front of the home crowd in race 1. Nikolai Serhested and Tom Slingsby, he just snuck through there like Harry Houdini to get through into 2nd place at the finish line. Absolutely superb effort. And then now we saw this in race number 2, really tight. The boat speed on the French boat, but Spithill with his new wing trimmer, Jason Saunders, he wouldn't go away, and he's sailing the boat beautifully close to the wind, snuck round the French, and then by the end of the race, he was through to 1st place again from nowhere. In the last 100 metres, it was Slingsby that found a way through, and Besson, that 1 penalty, 1st to last. And here we go, race number 3 in 3rd place. It's the Australians who had been sailing so well, but look at their speed drop off. Something went wrong with the manoeuvre. They fell off the foils, and that was them back. Ainsley cleared out to win, but it was silver medalist Burling, and then Besson thought it wasn't possible. Spithill thought it was possible. He snuck through at that final turning mark, and at the finish, it was so close.
Great highlights today, but I actually think one of the biggest highlights didn't happen in the racing. It was pre-race warm-up on board with the Spanish. You can see a little mark on the bow of the boat there, a little pink mark, and that's what they're trying to go round. They're trying to practice a JK. They're trying to practice a JK, which is a round-up tack, and bang, I think they hit the mark. And we saw damage to the leading edge of their dagger board, and later on we saw damage to their rudders as well. Talk about sending it off in your practice lap. And you can see, look at the windward dagger board there, there's carbon fibre hanging off the leading edge. And that has put them out for the day. It was a big mistake in warm-up, and it put the Spanish out the day. Not only did they have their black flag, which ruined their event in Plymouth, this could be a season-defining moment for the Spanish here. Is it unlucky? I don't know. It could be a real tough one for them to swallow, I reckon.
So that's race day number 1. What a performance by everyone. And that takes us to the last day of racing here at the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix. Can Great Britain, can the USA, can Japan get into that final race and score some big points? There's the schedule for tomorrow. Remember, only 3 boats will be in that final race. So, on behalf of Freddie Carr, Stevie Morrison, Ali Vance, I'm Todd Harris saying so long from the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix in Aarhus, Denmark. We'll see you tomorrow.
I'm coming straight at you like a raging bull. Mama didn't raise a fool. All eyes on me like a pay-per-view. The crowd go wild as they raise the roof. Knocking down doors like a bow in the wall. Soaking up the force, soaking up the applause. Don't make me cross before I morph into a lion with the sharpest claws. Now hear me wrong.
It will be Denmark claiming the win in front of the home crowd.